Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yes, we're excited to welcome you back here. We're doing another season slash, unfortunately, series finale, and this one is
Quantum Leap.
yes, and this is the 2022 to 2024 series. This is a revival sequel of the original series, and so to speak about our previous Tansson Talks TV series, we spoke about the first two episodes of the original Quantum Leap series and the first episode of this version. And so I guess we're bookending it and speaking about the last one of the last two episodes of this franchise for now.
Yes, we are. We are. And Brandon, do you want me to begin and give a little synopsis of this episode?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of a background and then
Okay.
also speak a little bit about, introduce these first two episodes before I let you do the synopsis. So thus far in season two, we have overall had it where Ben is still out and about, Dr. Ben Song. He is still leaping into other people, throughout space and time. But unfortunately, the team was not able to find him and they thought all was lost. And so time has sort of jumped a little bit, and so we did miss a couple years, but now the team is back and is working as ever. But now we have a new crisis, and that is that Ben has to get home before this billionaire, Gideon Ridge, dismantles Project Quantum Leap from the U.S. government. So that takes us a little bit to where we are now, and like I said, people had moved on. Addison had a new boyfriend, Tom Westfall, but they have since, or rather fiance, but they have since broken up. Whereas Ben has had an on and off sort of fling across interdimensions of time with this one lady, Hannah, over about the past 25 years. So that's overall a rundown, and Magic, who is the head of Quantum Leap, has resigned as a consequence of messing with Gideon Ridge. And I think that I've caught us up to speed to this point, and Mom, you can go ahead and give us the synopsis for these two final episodes of Quantum Leap. This is As the World Burns and Against Time.
All right, Brandon. Yes, I will give this. I'll try to give a quick synopsis of these last two episodes. As you kind of mentioned, throughout the last 25 years, Ben has had a relationship with someone named Hannah. He met Hannah early on in the season, and he has met her throughout. Little did we know that Hannah would actually play a hand in how the series would end. In this particular episode, he once more meets Hannah. He leaps initially and sees Hannah's son, and Ben has met Hannah's son in a prior episode, and so the son's name is Jeffrey, and they live in an apartment building, and it's a taller apartment building. And I say that to say because the apartment building does catch on fire, and so it's really important that, of course, they leave the building. And so Ben originally thought that he was there to save Hannah and or the son, but he later finds out he really is there to help firefighters that are there. And so he does do that. Hannah does help him as he guides the firefighters, not the firefighters, I'm sorry, the building construction crew that are there. They're the ones who are in danger. So he does help these construction crew lead them out to safety. In the midst of all that, Hannah's son, who's roughly about 10, 11 years old, he was outside of the building safe, and he decided to return to the apartment building in order to save some of his father's belongings. And so when he did that, that put himself in danger. He Ben, of course, has been in contact with Addison, and Addison kind of lets him know that that the son is in danger. And so Hannah wants everyone to help her son. And so they were actually on the way down, but then another explosion kind of occurred. And Hannah was unfortunately injured during this explosion where something came down on her. But Hannah insists that Ben go and get her son. And so Addison does stay with Hannah. Ben goes to get the son. And originally, Ben wrote a letter to Hannah years and years ago and kind of gave Hannah some information about her husband in regards to when he would pass away. And so, um, and so that letter was there, and this is what the son actually put in his pocket because of the fire and everything like that. They weren't. because of the fire, he wasn't able to take, he, the son, meaning wasn't able to take everything from his father as he tried to escape the fire. But he was able to take this letter. He hid that in his pocket. And so Ben does help the son to safety. They kind of had to climb out through a window and go down. Hannah eventually was rescued also. When all of this was taking place, Hannah actually was with Addison as a kind of mission, and Hannah started writing down pieces of a formula. She told Addison that this is really important for her to know, and so she wrote this formula down. And Ian was able to see this as he monitors the scene, and he realized that this is the end of the formula that they've been looking for, to kind of that they believe will help Ben come back to the real life time period. And so eventually Addison makes it down and everyone's safe down below. So all that to say that this particular episode is important because of that one scene where Hannah does write down the formula. The son, on the other hand, does read this letter and realizes there's something else going on with Ben, and he, at that point, begins to despise Ben just because he knows that he knew about his father. And so that's one part of the episode. The other part of the episode that I'll need to mention, I'm sorry this is taking so long, is that in the midst of all this, Gideon Ridge makes it to the agency, and he basically shuts down the current team that is working for Quantum Leap. He basically fires them. Um, and of course, Addison does not like this. Well, no one likes this. But we later find out that this Gideon Ridge is really Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is the son of Hannah. And so he's built up this resentment over so many years, and he's become a billionaire because he actually invested in some things that Ben mentioned previously in a previous episode. And so he's decided to take over Quantum Leap, which, of course, in his mind is his mother's project. And so that ends the first episode. Now, I promise I'm not going to go into a great detail with the second episode. I just had to say all of that to kind of lead into the second episode. The second episode really involves this once more the relationship between Ben and Jeffrey. And Ben realizes that he needs to change history. In order to do that, he needs to convince Jeffrey that he needs to have a change of perspective. And so there is another plot that goes along, but regardless of that plot, and you guys need to watch the episode to see what that plot is. But regardless of that plot, Ben is able to reach, even though Jeffrey is at that point 11, 12, 13 years old, he's able to kind of reach Jeffrey, and so the perspective does change later, and so the history does change for them, and Quantum Leap does go back to the original owners per se, and that's how it kind of ends with that particular episode. Now, the big thing is Addison and the leaping, and of course Ben, and whether or not Ben is able to return to the modern day. Addison realizes that there needs to be a constant, or Ian realized there needs to be a constant, and so Addison decides to leap, and she leaps and she meets Ben. I'm assuming in the past, the way it looks, and and so they do meet there, but at this time, Addison changes because Addison is not a hologram. Addison is actually really with Ben. He realizes that, and then they would go on their next adventure. But of course, the series ends, but they would be on their next adventure together. And so, Brandon, sorry this one took so long, but this is the last two episodes in a nutshell.
Well, Mom, first off, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
And yeah, and first of all, I can't believe that, of course, we're speaking in early September, but that this episode came out on February 20th.
Yes, it did. It did.
Yeah, can you believe it's been that long?
No, it is so hard to believe it's been that long. It seems like when we rewatch it, it seems like I just saw it the first time. So, yes.
Yeah, and so we watched it not that long after it, originally aired. But yeah, I mean, I think that this was just such in my personal opinion, a well-fitting finale for both the season, series, and thus the franchise.
I thought so too. I thought they did a wonderful job of kind of wrapping everything together. I mean, when we first saw Hannah originally, we didn't realize that, of course, that she would be there throughout the series. And I thought they had a lot of forethought. And I'm glad that the TV station producers, whoever, allowed them to have all of the episodes to air because it did give a complete ending to the series.
Yeah, and from what I read was that it was not intentional to, I mean, to also be a series finale. Because I know they were hoping, of course, we were hoping that there would be a season 3. So there's disappointing, but I think if it had to end, this is the best possible way it could have ended.
Yes, it was. It was.
But yeah, but I want to speak a little bit about, I mean, the season as a whole, as we were just mentioning that, it's been 3 years, so this is, I guess, now 2026 that this takes place. And so everyone sort of moved on, but it took a
Mhm.
while for Addison and Ben to really get back together as a sort of couple.
Yeah, it did. It did take a while. And because Ben didn't realize he was missing 2, 3 years, I can't recall exactly how many years, um, he didn't quite realize that, well, at least initially, that Addison had kind of moved on with her life.
Yeah, but I think we got a lot of fun adventures in the time that they were sort of broken up and that they didn't want to see each other, because we got to see everyone else sort of take turns being the leaper. We got to see, Jen come in and work her legal magic. We got to see, Ian come in and do everything that is in their specialty, and then even Magic, I think, had some excellent moments throughout the season.
Yes, it did. And it was really nice to see them each and see the dynamic that he had with all of them as they were leaving.
Yeah, and even though we don't see them in these 2 episodes, what do you think overall of of Addison and Tom Westfall as a couple, and sort of their disillusion when he realized that she was just still in love with Ben?
Well, as a couple, I thought they were fine. I think I originally told you I thought we kind of knew that there was some sort of devious thing going on within the company itself. And I originally thought it was Tom. So I'm happy that it was not him at the end. Um, but yeah, as a couple, I thought they were fine. It was just that, she and Ben kind of made the better couple.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And yeah, but I like that even though we don't see Tom, that we do get a little bit of his presence, because he does help out the team at the end.
Yeah, his badge made an appearance.
Yeah, and that allowed for Jin to sneak in and ultimately pay the ultimate sacrifice in favor of saving both Ben, Addison, and the project.
Yes, she did. She did. And those will have to watch to see what she did.
But were you expecting that at all?
No, I was not expecting that. Either, of course, the end result at the end um, paid off, and we understood. But however, I was shocked to see that.
Likewise, I know right after that we'd gotten a phone call, and it was just still a little disturbing, because we had such a long time that we had to wait, to sort of see what was going to happen. But yeah, definitely was unexpected. But I think out of the characters, and I think the show did a really good job. Correct me if you think differently, but I think the show did a really good job of showing us, the people behind the scene, like Magic, uh, Ian, and Jen. But I think Jen was probably the one we knew the least about. But I think this 2-parter episode really showed how dedicated Jin is to this project.
Yeah, they really did show that. It did show that. And I like the connection. And it's something we talked a little bit about the original series, but I will be honest, when I watched it, I know they went a little bit with the original series into the scientific part, not much. And so now I kind of like to go back to the original series and see how much of the scientific part that they did, because they concentrated, of course, for this with the modern version, there's a lot of the scientific formula and things like that that they talked about.
Definitely. And I know, whereas the original one was a bit more episodic, this one is very much a serial series.
It is, yes.
But I really like the way that they did it, and it made it all sort of a puzzle. But I like that for season two's adventures and escapades, that it didn't try to repeat what season one did with their giant story, but instead let these episodes be a little bit more self-contained, but still have an overarching plot that we weren't really expecting. Were you expecting Gideon Ridge to also be Jeffrey? I know we figured out a little bit beforehand.
No, I was not. I was not expecting that at all. So it's nice. I think it's nice when a series can truly surprise someone. And that was a surprise, but it made sense as a surprise. and they laid the groundwork, and we just didn't realize it.
Yeah, because I know we were trying to figure out. I think in episode, yeah, since this is episode 12 and 13 of the season, I know like in the midst of episode 12, we were trying to figure out who exactly is Jeffrey. But I think we hit it like right as they were about to reveal it. It's just like, oh, it couldn't be, could it?
Yeah, I was trying to do the math real quick, and they did it very cleverly because they gave them math in days and not years. And I had wondered about the amount of years time span, and we of course didn't figure that out. Well, we didn't do the math ourselves until we watched this episode.
Yeah, so Ben and Hannah had known each other for a little over 25 years, but that it had been 50 years, in the time span between that episode, where Jeffrey realized, I guess, the full picture of what Ben's doing to now. But I mean, that's a long grudge for 5 decades.
Yes, that was a long grudge. And then because Ben, of course, looks the same every time he travels, you don't realize the time difference. And the way they kind of had the mom in there, her age looked, even though 25 years had elapsed, she looked almost the same.
Yeah, and I like that, and the way that we're seeing them is that seeing Hannah is that even though you can tell that sort of the care they're putting in to sort of show age is that she still seems youthful. I mean, throughout, and she even asks Ben, it's just like, do I look the same? Do I look older? And obviously, she never knows what Ben looks like, but can sense his presence.
She's able to sense his presence there.
But yeah, and I thought I brought up such an interesting thought about the whole part about interfering in the sense that Gideon, aka Jeffrey, he's just like, well, his father is dead because of Ben, even though Ben was trying to help, but it's like he messed with the natural order of things.
Yeah, but then at the same time, Hannah said that because she had read the letter, that they had many more years together, because whatever heart condition that he had, they were able to kind of help that. So she did have more years with her husband.
Yeah, I think about a year and a half, and so it's really interesting, and even we got a connection a little bit to the original series because we also got Janice Calvici, the daughter of Al from the original series, alongside uh, the actress that plays Al's wife in both series.
Yes, we were able to see Beth, and it was nice to see her.
Yeah, and so what are your thoughts about how they were able to sort of connect us back to season one, because both of them were in season one. Janice
Hmm.
was a major part of it, but we hadn't seen her all season prior to this point. But
Yeah,
able to connect it to that, but then also the original series, like with the connection with Al.
I think, like I said before, I think that the creators of the second series did a wonderful job of paying respect to the original series. And they did a really nice job of linking both of them together.
Yeah, and I like how this was also able to be its own thing, that you didn't have to rely on it. Like I had, when I started watching the new series, I had never seen the original series. Like I may have seen like a snippet here and there when you were, rewatching some of the episodes, but I mean, I truly had no frame of reference. But yeah, I didn't need it. But in the same regard, I think, like you're mentioning for you, having seen the original, that you were able to sort of build on top of that knowledge.
Yeah, and then I was able to go back when I rewatched the first episode with you. I was able to go back and say, "Oh, well, this makes sense how it originally started and the time theory and everything like that." So yeah, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I like that in this episode too. We got to see Janice using the family heirloom of the original Ziggy system for Addison, which I thought was also a really nice touch that paid homage to the original.
Oh yes, Ziggy was a main character in the original.
But yeah, but overall for just these two episodes, though, I mean, I personally think it did, like we were saying before, just such a great job of wrapping things up. But even in their own right, I like that it didn't take over the previous episodes. That it wasn't like it was just all building up to this, even though it was. But they got to be their own episodes within themselves as well.
Yeah, they did.
But yeah, but Mom, is there anything else that you want to discuss for, like I said, these final two episodes of the 2022 to now present? Well, I guess 2024 series of Quantum Leap.
No, kind of like I've said before, Brandon, I just think that they did a marvelous job of linking all of them together. They did a great job of having Hannah go over several episodes and to link her into it. And then her child that we didn't, I mean, that I really wouldn't have paid attention to the first time. Because they built it where you liked him. And you liked him on the first episode that he was in, and he was still likable for the second episode. You just kind of knew that something was going through his mind because he was questioning a lot being an older child. But but yeah, the three episodes they had him in, I thought they did a really nice job.
Yeah, and I guess two questions I will say to end this out is one, what were your overall thoughts about getting Ridge like as a character, and then even the additions of Hannah and Tom like throughout the season, like adding to the mix. But then I'm gonna also say the next one, which is how we ended out these other season and series finales over the past month and a half, which was if the show had continued, what would you have wanted to see in this potential season three?
All right, let's tackle the last one. Would I would have liked to see how Addison and Ben go along for the next few leaps together. That would have been interesting to watch. It would be interesting to see whether or not they continue to be together, or whether or not one will come out, or and then who's going to be a hologram. I mean, I would love to see Ian as a hologram. I think he'd be, I think that person would be fun as a hologram, or even Magic as the hologram. But so that would be interesting. It's like, how are they really going to do this, or is it that they both come out of it and then they eventually go back in? So that, I mean, for me, that's what I would like. I would like to see, and then of course there would be some problem, I'm sure, for the scientific approach, and to see what problem are they going to tackle, on that side.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Listen, I would have loved to see who the hologram was and Addison's adjustment, since Addison is the one that's trained to be the leaper, not Ben. But Addison and Ben have different approaches. I think Ben, similar to Sam in the original, always was human first and wanted to solve the problems as opposed to just doing whatever it takes to the next leap. So I think it'd be interesting to see Addison on this side of things and see, maybe they don't even share the same leap. And who is the hologram? I would love to see Ian as a hologram. I think they are just such a great character.
Yes. And then the other thing is, how will Addison approach it not knowing the answers? Whereas Ben has to kind of figure things out. Addison always knows what the outcome's going to be. And so she would actually have to figure out the outcome.
Yeah, so I definitely think that'd be quite interesting. But I would have liked to also, since we saw a lot of Jen in this episode, these two episodes, I would have liked to see more of Jen as a character and sort of the repercussions of this. And adding to the question that I definitely want to circle back to you for is these free extra characters that we brought in for this season. Would you want to see them again in a potential season three if it had one?
Uh, yes. Gideon, in the sense that, or Jeffrey, whatever he's calling himself at that point in time, because he is the founder of of a lot of the money for the particular company, and so it'll be interesting to see what his take would be at a later time period. We never found out what happened to Hannah. We assume she passed away just because of the timing. However, it'd be interesting to see if he actually put some closure to what really did happen to his mother at the end. Let's see. As for, I believe you said Beth and Janice.
Yeah, alongside the ex fiance Tom.
Tom, I think Tom's time is gone. He might show up for one episode, but I don't think there's really a point for Tom in there any longer. As for Beth and Janice, I think just because of history, I think, and she says she has three other sisters. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if, all of them come together. And because Beth is involved with magic, if I remember correctly, um, it'll be interesting to see all of them at a family dinner. That would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I definitely fully agree with that. Like I said, I mean, I think that this season just did such a remarkable job of, yeah, adding to what we saw in season one and to the history of the series and making a franchise of it. But Mom, I always enjoyed discussing with you, and I hope those tuning in let us know what your favorite moments with Quantum Leap,
Yeah,
either which version.
yeah, let us know which Quantum Leap do you prefer, the new or the old. It'd be great to hear.
Yeah, well, Mom, I can't wait to to see what else comes out as we enter the fall 2024 new series that come out.
Yep, I'm looking forward to the fall new TV series season also. All right, thank you everyone for joining us today.
We'll see you next time.
All right, bye everybody.